It's Raj, and always a pleasure to be here. One amazing city, amazing place. Want to thank you to that. Thank you guys. All right, so disclosure is highly complicated. All right, where we have absolutely no idea. That's a true honest answer. Why? Everybody has something new from somebody, someplace, and everybody starts a new, minimally invasive technique to treat deformity. I've been doing this for more than 22 years now. Fascinating. Has absolutely no standardized protocol. Everyone comes up with their own protocol on how to deal with deformity. We'll talk about that in a minute because there are so many minimally invasive techniques. There are many, many ways to get there. I get it. But the problem is there are so many techniques. And everybody thinks they can apply any one of these techniques anywhere to deal with deformity. I'm not talking of the distal squeak 2 degrees tilt in the spine. We're talking of true deformity. So let's frame that. And it's really important, I think, to define what MIS is. It's not a technique, it's not a procedure, and it's not a company. MIS literally is an approach where you're doing muscle preservation and tissue sparing approaches to do your surgery. And ACDF have said forever is the greatest minimally invasive surgery we do every single day, which is why our patients do so well. The beautiful tissue sparing aerial approach. So if we are to incorporate that in deformity and use the principles so that we do it in a muscle preserving, tissue preserving way, and you have to use anatomical corridors and the key to do it is then use ligamental taxes to achieve your correction. So many principles are thrown here, and that's what makes it complicated. It has to be circumferentially MIS. Through the ISSC, we show time and time again, the hybrid approach doesn't work. It makes no sense. To do a lateral and then do open posterior, then please do open posterior. You're not an MIS surgeon. I'm sorry, with all due respect. If you start doing laterals 2 and 3, and then you open the entire spine in the back into osteotomies, I'm not sure what exactly you've achieved. Don't call yourself an MIS surgeon. I don't mean disrespect anybody doing that. But think about it. If you want to do MIS, do it circumferentially MIS. Otherwise, do traditional open. It works great. That's not the issue. So that's the harmonious physiological ligamental taxes. And do it without posterior column osteotomies. And this is what we've done for more than 22 years now. Anyway, the key is the disc. That's your big wheel. That's the driving force of scoliosis. Go for the disc. It's your big thing on the spine. That's what everything is happening. Go for the disc. Analogy is again, it's a bunch of blocks in a crumpled tube sock. You straighten the sock up, the blocks have to line up. No sides have. It's very simple. You just straighten the spine out. That's what deformity is. Out eventually. And it's all detailed published called a simpler technique. Every single step. I can't go through it in 10 minutes here, but every step of how to go about it is all published and go through in tremendous pictures, and it's all there, and obviously you can see what simpler means. So, and that's publication. So, with radiological criteria, we talked about the ISSC, how to sort of approach. It's a good working algorithm, but it's radiological. Tell you, okay, you got this, you may try these in these patients. And then we talked about class 3 and class 4 in the mid-step 2, where basically said class 3 probably needs much more complicated, open PSF. But we routinely be doing class 3 for the last 19 years. This patient is literally from 17 years ago. So it's all about how you apply it and do it. But those recommendations through the algorithm did routinely. Same with class 4. We routinely do patients with prior surgeries before incorporating MIS technique, and I have another talk, I don't know which meeting, lots of meetings going on, that literally is talking about when you have prior surgery, how we incorporate MIS and deformity. It's all about doing the principles, right? And what are the principles? Getting it all together, circumferentially MIS, attack the disc. There's a class 4. I mean, you can go below, work it out, do what you need to do working through the disc. And all these patients that treated MIS forever, and ultimately 22 years, any non-fused spine can be treated MIS today. Even if it's fused, look at the disc above, look at this below. I'm salivating when I see an open disc. I know I can go there, I can attack it, correct it, move it around. So I'm looking for an open disc somewhere, even if it's a pseudo. And we talk about that, take it out. And we have a whole protocol, we stage it out, much better stage at 70, 80, 90 years of age. And everything less than 4, we'll do it same day. And all this has been published, by the way. And ultimately, it is the most important thing, right? Indication, selection, and execution. And each one of them is self-explanatory. Indication, you walk into the room in 5 minutes and decide you are going to operate or not. Wow, that's indication. It's not, don't get conflated with what are you going to do. Selections, what are you going to do? That's your big decision, what techniques you want to use to make it happen. But indication is critical. You operating and out operating, you're surgeons. You walk in, it's like what office guy execute at the end of the day. Everyone gets this, every single patient. They have very strong protocol. It's the same mundane protocol every single time for every single deformity. But things change as we plan things out. But it's a strong protocol that's standardized, right? And again, all that is, well, there's a checklist. Anyone starting, please read the detailed checklist, what to look for. They'll tell you it's going to be complicated or not. They'll give you an idea. Don't just walk into it. If it's in that red zone, orange zone, you probably need somebody with you. Don't do that as a first case. So look at the X-ray, look at the MRI, look at the CT scan, study the thing, see what's there, decide whether you're going to do, not do it, and where you can plan that out. You don't walk into a case and do that. Even though you may have done hundreds of laterals, no, deformity things change. They really do. So take an example of this patient. Operated before, obviously, you can see all the numbers there. Severely imbalanced, obviously, with thoracic kyphosis of 10, right? There's a plan. We always regular plans, the same thing, 3-day gap. Well, that's how OR works. We do single position pre-psoas laterals. We're going all the way from 5-1 up, and posterior will be robotic assisted today, single position pre-psoas. I moved pre-psoas probably 2010, having done transpsoas for more than 10 years before that, 8 years before that. And so lateral was everyone. Then you're going to put your rods there and put your data translate. Obviously, ongoing technique. This is critical if you're going to do the rod. You can't throw a bunch of extenders and stick a nut down. You'll get distal squat, which is why it's failing every single time. You cannot correct and derotate the spine in the Harrington rod. You need CDA rising. You cannot do what CDA rising, what medical school does today, CDA rising did. So you need the right tools to get the job done. You need a dedicated, graduated, sequential reducer. I won't have this like why. It's really important you can't get it down. You can't derotate and translate. And this is what you get if you do it. Pre-op, stage X-ray, post-op, and here's the AP X-ray, and there's the laterals. You get the full correction. See your spine, there's not a single osteotomy of percent released. All you do is swap the screw out from before and line up where you need. Today, a robotic technology, you can plan your disectomy, plan your screws the way you want to do it. And so what you can do now is bypass these screws. This is one of the greatest MRI procedures I think we can do. Stop removing all the hardware. We have the technology, use the robot, plan the screws out, bypass it. The whole series of that being published now. About 15, we call it the robotic bypass technique. Well, leave those screws alone. Why the hell do you want to go in there? It's fused. Work your way up and down, correct your deformity, line it up. And so you can get these done, and that's what's coming up. So I call the bypass construct anyway. The Harrington rod, you see this all the time. Degenerative spine below, the Harrington rod. It's a operating T2 S1. Just go in, line it up, and correct it. There is no way hell you're getting perfect alignment in this patient. That boat sailed a long time ago. Just put the head over the hips and let them get on in life. That one's already done. Unless you're going to crack the spine a million places top and bottom, God knows, there's no need to do that. So ultimately, you can line people up where they need to do. ACR, very, very rare for me to do. They do one a year. And specific, 4 to 5, 4 to 1 or 3 to 4, I was there. And there's a good example of that patient. Basically, 3 to 1 fuse, but luckily, thank God, 3 to 4 are not union. Went into the screw up and went in the cage out. Did an ACR, lined around, and completely immersed. Single osteotomy, nothing was taken out. And then similarly, psychology, severe pain goes. There's severe cases today. I said, what works? Even though severe cases possible or not. This is my patient, actually my neighbor, actually walking on first case, 5 years, I was 5 years up now, I think. Yes, 5 years, like symptomatic, walking around, doing reverse walls, hikes, swims. So everywhere along the line, the protocol up, you can do same technique, same thing. This is as big as it gets. The only place you opened up is to do the osteotomy at the apex of kyphosis. And line that up to a transvertical decancellation and line that up to 4-rod technique. And that's the rod completely lined up. And everything else being stopped the rod, including the rod being passed all the way transverse fashion and down. So this is really pushing it to the ultimate point is it can be done. We've shown PJ kids dramatically, 4.4%. We've shown hardware failure 2.2%. It challenged anybody to show this. There's a lot happening. If you do it right, you'll get there. You can't do a hodgepodge of crap and then say, oh, it doesn't work. There has to be a protocol to make it work, and you have to stick to that. And the last is, now essentially, we see the cap coming out. The cap actually drops loose. Interesting. Instead of screw breaking or screw getting loose, the cap gets loose at the ilium. And this we've seen at least about 6-7 times now. And we see incidentally 5 out of 7 are totally asymptomatic. And if the rod breaks, it breaks below that 5+1 after 5 is fused. But that's the only place the rod is inside to bend, by the way. These are 5.5 titanium rods. 5.5 titanium, one more time. 5.5 titanium rods for 22 years. Instead, what are we doing? 5 and 6 rod constructs every day. And so ultimately, severe deformities, there's all those of severe deformities. All this is one this, every one of it. And of this is the biggest nonsense I've ever seen. It's only for mild deformities. 53% of our patients in our series are severe deformities. But with that protocol, you need the right protocol, not the right company. Company has nothing to do with it. It's a protocol. Thank you. In conclusion, right protocol, put it right, release, manipulate the discs, especially 3-4-4-5-5-1. You get a harmonious correction, and you need the right tools to do posterior derotation. That's really critical. You need the right tool to make it happen. You need a rotator thing, and use your pathoanatomy to decide how it works. It's not a number. It's about the axis of anatomy to decide what works. And be minimally effective if you do not know what the hell you're effective. You gotta know what you're doing. You gotta just go in there, put some cages and think it's gonna work. Thank you.